Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TraderMerlin Show for your Wednesday afternoon edition. Yes, I listened to your advice, got a haircut. It was a terrible haircut, but you know what? At least it's not fluffy over the ears. And I didn't shower since my workout, so here we are in the workout clothes. Anyway, hope you all had a great day, except for that little Nvidia mess up near the end. That's going to be our topic for today. Probably going to be a little bit of a lighter show today. I don't have too much to talk about other than a couple earnings and some positions that I put on. Rocky Mountain Chainsaw says, on fire here in Utah. Well, I hope not literally on fire. We don't want any fires. Nobody getting burned over there. Nvidia earnings. This was the topic du jour, and over the past few days, we've seen a pretty nice move up in Nvidia, with a lot of people anticipating, including myself, that this might be a precursor to a really good earnings announcement that they're pricing it in. Because remember, when these earnings announcements come out, they're not like snap the fingers and it's just being produced. These are being passed around the finance department, and there's leakage. People know what the numbers are going to be, so there's a little bit of maybe insider trading that goes on. I don't know. Talk about the SEC about that one, but yeah, certainly there could be the potential for a little bit of early news being conveyed there. And if I go here to the volume, you can see, obviously today the volume is a bit higher, and that I think that this does include the after-hour session. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But it looked great. We came right back up to this gigantic red candle we had from August 19th, and then, of course, those earnings came out. And it really wasn't as crazy as I thought it would be. From the closing price, we ended up rallying about 1% and then fell about 5.35% on Nvidia, currently sitting down right around 3.17%. So not terrible, but I guess the point, no cologne. I don't wear cologne. No. The question is, how did they perform? Why did we see this 3% slide we're seeing in the after-hour session? So I'm going to run through the numbers one by one here just so you guys can see it. Their earnings per share, they came out at $1.05. Expectations were 101. So as usual, Nvidia beats. Looking at your revenue, $46.7 billion versus $46.2 billion. Beat estimates. So that's great, right? Because of course these estimates are like raised much higher than the previous quarter. So everything so far looks pretty darn good. Data center revenue. Here is one. I should probably have done this a little bit differently. Maybe I should color coded these for you guys and made it red, because it's the data center revenue. I don't know why I put it in here twice. I have that as a bad thing. Let's do that, and we will take this one out here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do this. Let's forget about data center revenue for now. Let's just get rid of data center revenue. I'm going to go 3 positive things in a row. Boom, boom. Here's your gross margin. 72.7% gross margin on their products. Unbelievable. That is pretty darn phenomenal with regards to rate of return on investment. Now, gross margins on their profits is amazing. Now, this is where it got bad. And this is where it's crazy to think that it dropped 3% of this. Data center dropped from $41.1 billion to expectations were 41.29, and we came out at 41.1. I think that that's pretty phenomenal numbers. It's just, the thing is, these were slightly less than what the analysts on Wall Street were expecting, which is why we saw that knee-jerk reaction, because it's really one of the few numbers that actually missed on their numbers. I mean, as Big Eb says, $190 million miss on data center of $4 trillion market cap is peanuts. Absolutely. It's insignificant. However, it is what it is, and that's what caused this little Nvidia scare. And I think what the media headlines that are already being thrown around that I saw before the show today were that, this could be the beginning of the end of the AI bubble. And we've talked about this quite a bit on the show, where I don't think that the AI bubble is over, just kind of like the dot-com bubble wasn't over in 1995, 96, 97, 98, 99. It had impulse and corrective phases, right? We're seeing markets that move up and they have corrections and then they continue to move up. So it'll be really interesting to see how the market digests this tomorrow. All in all, when I look at it, I think that this is actually not bad at all. Right now we're at 176.48, which is just below my strike price for my options. You can see a little blue line here that's going to be moving as we speak dynamically. That's the after hour. As market says, AI is overpriced into stocks. I would agree. I kind of wish it would have sold off more to create a better buying opportunity, but I think long-term, people look at these numbers on Nvidia and go, it's pretty darn good. It doesn't look bad at all. All in all, especially you're creating numbers like this that I have on my screen here. This is pretty darn phenomenal. And then Big Ebs, I think people need a reason to take profits in late August and into September. Yeah, September typically is that negative month. It's got a negative 0.7 rate of return. I'm actually writing an article for Trading Academy, which will be coming out, so it's September 1st. It'll be the first one there. So all in all, I think the Nvidia news is actually pretty good. I think that when you look at the financial numbers I showed up here, I don't see any reason that people should be panicking. Should be panicking right now. 1 second. I'm trying to type in something and talk at the same time. All right. Yeah, I don't think it's that point where people should start panicking or worrying about this one. Now, as we saw posted in chat by Cody, they did announce a significant buyback plan, which is $60 billion, but it does not have an expiration date on it. Now, that means that over the course of time, they're going to buy more shares. And of course, that should result in a higher price. So you've got great earnings, you've got tons of revenue, you've got a massive share buyback coming. To me, I think that this puts bullish news for Nvidia. Margaret asks, what's your source for the article? Which article? My article in September? Just my writing, my commentary, my research. Their guidance for Q3 does not include any possible China chip sales. I didn't see that, so I didn't get to go through all the Q3 forecasts. I was just trying to prep and get everything ready for the show, as well as all the other stuff that I'm doing today. So no, I did not see any other parts of that one other than the share buyback and some of the high-level numbers here. Later on, when I have some free time, I will probably go through that and dig in a little bit deeper. But all of a sudden, it looks pretty good. And maybe Big Eb, if there's no guidance for China chip sales, maybe they haven't factored it in yet, right? Maybe the terms of that deal have not been hashed out. When we hear those numbers that, Nvidia is going to give 15% of the profits to the government, is that signed, sealed, delivered? Is that actionable? Do we know? I think that's probably not 100% solid yet at this point. So if we add in that, let's say that their forecast doesn't include that, then you add that China bump on top of it. I think that could see a pretty nice Q3 or Q4 for Nvidia. So all in all, really not that bad. I was kind of surprised it's only down 2%. As I already mentioned, my strike price is 177.50 expiring Friday. So I'm kind of okay if we close somewhere around there by Friday. I'm happy to own Nvidia. If it gets taken away, okay, fine, whatever. As you guys know, my trade was way back here. I got a phenomenal entry price on Nvidia, so I'm stoked on that one. All right. All in all, I think this is going to be great for tech. I think you're going to look at the markets and continue to see them rally on this one. Looking at that news, I think your Magnificent 7 stocks are going to look better as well. Now, of course, it's down just a little bit here in the after-hour session, and if I run in through your Magnificent 7 on a 5-minute chart, you can see the Nvidia effect on their share price as well. So here is Tesla, right? In the after-hours, Tesla selling off. Apple surprisingly have a nice little rally in the after-hours. Amazon selling off. Meta sold off. Microsoft, relatively flat. And Google down as well. So, a little bit of an impact there on these bad boys. Andre says it's time for the government to buy Nvidia shares. Better than Intel, right? Better than Intel. Now, I saw somebody, Big Eb said Snowflake did well. Well, here's Snowflake's numbers. They came out with 35 cents per share, and the expectations were it was going to be 26 cents per share. So, yeah, they crushed it there. Their revenue went from $1.145 billion it went from $1.09 billion up to $1.145 billion. Great news there for Snowflake. Let's see, let's get Snow on here. And CrowdStrike as well, which I'll look at here in just a minute. But here's your after hours of Snowflake. Screaming. It's up 12.5% in the after hour session. It was already up 3% on the day. So Snowflake absolutely crushing it with their earnings looking great. And there was another one on here, which was CrowdStrike. Now, let's bring up CrowdStrike on here and CRWD. So this is another interesting one. You look at their earnings, they came out with 93 cents versus 83, right? So they beat expectations by 10 cents. The revenue was 1.169 billion versus 1.15 billion. And they got crushed after hours. They're down 7.52%. So just little things can derail, even though you got good earnings, could derail you altogether. And of course, if you're part of the Kohl's family here, people loving Kohl's reported early this morning, and they were up pretty big too, 24% gain on the day, which just goes to show you, dang, those earnings announcements, always making things just wild and crazy. That's why I stay away from them typically. I was, as I mentioned, I was actually fairly nervous about keeping those Nvidia shares through earnings. I just don't like holding things through earnings, but I felt comfortable, especially given where my buy price was. where my buy price, is pretty significantly lower. I'm not worried about that, which is why I sold the calls at 177.50 for Nvidia. And there's your earnings. Would you rather own Kohl's or Nvidia? Yeah, that's a no-brainer, right? Absolute no-brainer. Okay, I'm going to go and, one second, I forgot to put the name on here, so let's give everyone accolades where they get it, and I will modify my slides here for Liz, because Liz asked a question I did not get a chance to get to, and we'll put L-I-Z. Okay, so, yeah, we want number one, Nvidia. Well, they keep on going, hey, let's get to $5-6 trillion market cap. Fine with me, just keep pulling things up, just keep pulling that market up, but at some point, everyone needs to be aware that what goes up must come down. And I do think that Nvidia is getting overextended, but I still think that the hype is in AI. I still think that the prospects, the future forecast for AI is significantly higher, and therefore I would anticipate, even though there's dips along the way, it creating buying opportunities for Nvidia. So there we go. Okay, complete change of pace here. Complete change. I'm not a party pooper, Louise. Right now, it's still gravy. Let's do it. Liz's question came in a little while ago, and I apologize. There's a lot on the screen here, and I didn't get a chance to get to it. Liz says, I've heard it said that Powell's speeches are submitted to the White House and placed on an embargo area 24 hours ahead of their release to the public. Is this true? If so, how is it possible for him to comment at the conclusion of a 2-day Fed meeting or the Jackson Hole Symposium if he's referring to developments of those meetings? I understand that this could be true, where, for example, Powell is given a time slot to speak on a planned topic at a conference ahead of time, but not when he's reporting real-time developments. To the best of my knowledge, there is no embargo time. Remember, the Federal Reserve is an independent entity from the government. It's designed to be that way. So I don't believe that Powell's comments or speeches are held for review by the White House. Obviously, if that was the case, I think Trump would have issues with his speeches before they came out. There is certainly a review of those, I'm sure. There's writers, et cetera, that go through and make sure that everything is right on behalf of the Fed. But I really don't believe that there is the government says, hey, give us that document, we're going to pause it. Now, I do believe that any other government report from a government agency like the Bureau of Labor Statistics, if that's an actual government report, then the government does have all the right to hold that and wait to release it until they're absolutely sure they want those numbers released and whatever is said in that report to be said. But as far as the Fed, I don't believe that to be the case. I don't think that there is any sort of White House control or pause on it. So Liz, not concerned about that at all. I think that he has full liberty to comment. I think that he's also highly trained at speaking. I think anyone who's the Fed chair, and I would argue that anybody who works at the Fed has gone through a significant amount of training as far as public speaking goes. What can we say? What cannot we say? Because the power position is just way too big. It's way too big. It's way too powerful for them to mess up and say something that they didn't mean to say or they got caught off guard. So I think that for the most part, it's fairly scripted. And, when you look at his press releases, he's reading a teleprompter, right? Which is why I don't care about the announcement itself. What I care about is when he goes to the open questions, right? Obviously, none of that can be reviewed. Let me take that back. That's not true. You could have staged questions, but I'm pretty sure, just judging by the character of the people who are asking those questions at the FOMC press conference, that those questions are not, I don't think that they're pre-submitted. I don't believe that they are. But you never know. After I saw what went on in CNBC as far as Jim Cramer's TV show and, we're talking to Bob in Skokie, Illinois, booyah, Cramer, that's all fake. That stuff is all fake. They're not doing live callers. It's people in the back room with a script asking scripted questions so Jim knows exactly what to bring up and all this stuff. So I guess you just never trust it all together. Liz, you never trust it all together. But I do not believe that Powell's speeches are held by the government for review or audited or anything like that. I think it's just fine. I heard they're considering holding reports like unemployment, CPI. Yeah, and I would, and the government would have the power to do that, right? If it's a government agency, they're the ones issuing the report, so they can say, hey, you know what, Bureau of Labor Statistics, hold off. You're supposed to release that at noon today. We're going to make you wait another day, right? Make you wait another day. Okay, I only made one trade today, and that was on Coreweave. And it's really just selling calls against my position. So I'm long from 105 on this bad boy, and I sold, I'm going to leave that line there, and let me add another line on the top of this one. I'll change this to blue so it matches, it'll just be my whatever color it is, but that's blue I can see, the other ones I cannot. All right, and I sold the 110s today. Now, I collected $1.15, which is fine, and I sold those, by the way, for next Friday. So I got, 7, 8, 9 days to go until this matures, and I collected an extra about 1.1%. So not bad, but in the after hours, Coreweave was all over the place on that announcement, right? We can go here to a 5 minute, and you can see it was just getting slaughtered on that Nvidia announcement, and now all of a sudden starting to rally. And I do believe that you're going to see Nvidia open up positive tomorrow. What's it doing right now? No? Okay. I think Nvidia will probably open up positive tomorrow. It just feels that way. Just the way it's going. Yeah, gap up on Coreweave. If my shares of Coreweave get taken away, it's fine. And the main reason I'm okay with that, if you look at CRWV, I've been collecting premium on this one as I'm selling calls against my position. I'm long from 105. Therefore, if I got taken away at 110, and I have 1,000 shares of it, that's a $5,000 gain on the underlier. Not to mention, what did I have here on my premium? Actually, when you add in, this number here does not include my my latest purchase of this. So you can tell I don't have that position here. So I collected $1.15. That basically makes my dollar cost average here for Coreweave would be $99.35. So $99.35 means I'm making almost $11 per share on 1,000. That'd be $11,000 gain, even though I was underwater for quite some time. And we'll see. I don't know if it'll get up there, but if Nvidia does rally, I think Coreweave is probably going to have a nice move up as well. It's not that big of a position, Margaret. It's okay. It's a $100,000 position, but that's not that big of a deal. You're not that excited about owning Coreweave at 107.50? Yeah, it's a little too volatile, right? I really think that you've got to look at Nvidia and just be cheering for Nvidia, because I feel like Coreweave is going to be riding the coattails of Nvidia through this. So if Nvidia does continue to do well over the remainder of the week and next week, then my shares will get taken away, and that'll be fine. We'll be totally fine with that. What else do we have here? Let's go run through our top 8. Man, I'm going to be running out of stuff early today. Could it possibly be an early show? Oh boy. Let's go into, and this is as of right now. This includes the aftermarket because the futures are still moving on here. So let's go look at your 10-year yield. So 10-year yield is down 0.63% today. That's nothing out of the ordinary or really that exciting. It's just kind of continuing that downtrend line we drew across those peaks a couple days ago. So for right now, this is not a good sign if you are bullish on the yield. If you're bullish in the housing market, this is great. Keep on going down, 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 down on that yield. Let's get down sub 4% and make it even better. That'd be awesome. Now, that dollar index. Dollar index doing nothing. We've seen pretty much sideways action for the better part of 3 weeks now. Yeah, we had some wilder fluctuations, but I still hold firmly to that 97.63 mark, 97.63. If we get down below that, then I think you're going to see continued lows and just kind of chasing lower lows and lower lows and lower lows. And the reason being, as I mentioned many times, is you have a central bank, you have a Fed, you have the Fed, you have the Treasury Department, you have the president. All kind of weak dollar would be fine for them. And I think, especially since the president and the Treasury Department is pushing for that, I think you're going to get more pressure on this to see this dollar continue to slide. And we shall see. Technician JD says, have you ever done a small account challenge to see how fast you can grow it from 0 to running or too boring for you? I did years ago. Here's the problem. Here's the problem in doing that, JD. And I think the experienced traders in this audience know this well. If you are in a contest where you're trying to make as much money as possible, you're going to break your strategy, right? You're going to take... My strategy does not involve trying to make as much money as possible in a short window of time. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in trying to be as consistent as possible, taking on certain risks, expecting certain rewards, but I don't want to go and just swing for the fences every time, because what will happen is it will demoralize you, because when you go to trade those small accounts, when you go to trade those tiny little accounts and you swing for the fences and you lose everything, you feel like a failure over and over and over again. So yes, I've done those competitions. And one of them, I was actually in first place till I got in a huge euro trade. I was leveraged, massive leverage on a euro trade, and it gapped down on me. And yeah, it was pretty much erased all my gains. And I went from first to, near the bottom. So I don't do it anymore because remember, over the course of time, I'm working diligently to build my trading plan and adhere to that style, whatever works for me. Now, I apologize because for everybody here, my style is probably not the same as what your style is. And I hope that people aren't sitting here trying to go, I need to replicate exactly what Merlin does, or Merlin does this, Merlin does that. You need to figure out what your own thing is. I'm just showing you and explaining some of my trades so you can see the thought process, the methodical aspect to it. But I'm hoping that everybody understands this has to be something that's tailored to you. So JD, I do not enter in any trading contest. The only contest I have is against myself, and I am happy to enter in that trade every single day. Every day of the week, I go out there and just try to grind away. Sometimes I'm underwater on positions like I am right now. I'm underwater on quite a few. I'm underwater on MicroStrategy. I'm underwater on, actually that's it. Underwater on MicroStrategy and Coreweave are the only two I'm underwater on. But United Health, I got great gains. Palantir, Nvidia, I got great gains there. And I'll continue to do option strategies on MicroStrategy and Coreweave until I either get to a point where I say enough is enough or I'm back into profitable territory. But I have zero interest in a competition. I have zero interest in competing with anybody in this room, right? You guys are, I'm sure there are people in here who are making so much money, it's ridiculous. I'm happy for you. I'm sure there's people in this room that are losing money, and I'm not happy for you. Unfortunately, we got to fix that. But, my trades are my trades. My gains and losses are my gains and my losses, and that's it. I'm not beholden to anyone. Didn't mean it like a contest, meant like grow it. Well, that's my whole MO is to grow my accounts, right? But I want to do it in a controlled manner. I want to kind of continue to build and build and build. But yeah, I don't start with small accounts really anymore. I consolidated most of my accounts down and they're larger accounts. So I can trade bigger share size. I have, as I've illustrated here for you guys and show you at the end of the year, I have multiple accounts all over the place and they have different goals and objectives. The account I got rid of this year that no longer, I used to have a gamble account, gone. And the reason for that is the last 4 years, it's underperformed. So why bother? Part of what I have to do every single day is analyze my trades, my performance, and say what works, great, let's focus on that. What doesn't work, let's try to fix it or eliminate it. And for the most part, I'd rather just eliminate it. I'm too old to worry about trying to fix that stuff. I've got stuff that works. So there we go. Steve says, home runs are great, but I seldom get them. Base hits every day. 100%. If I have a team of baseball players, so let's say you've got, how many people you have on a baseball team? You got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 9 people on the playing field at all times. So let's say you got 9 players. And one of those guys hits home runs all the time, but the rest aren't really doing much. You're not going to win many ball games. But if I have a team of 9 players and everybody's getting base hits, let's say 7 out of those guys are getting base hits, you're going to win championships. Because that's the consistency of moving that player from first to second, maybe third, and possibly even home, that is the ticket to success. So yeah, I don't take many chances. Some of the trades I certainly do are risky, but I'm not taking those high flyers and buying some penny stock and hoping it goes from 1 penny to 75 cents. Just not bad. Yeah, we want 9 Ricky Hendersons. Absolutely. That guy could bunt to first and score. Just crazy. Absolutely. And that's one of the challenges. Rob says, absolutely, you need teamwork. I agree with you 100%, but remember, what's the difference here in trading? There is no team. You are the team. You're the team, you're the manager, you're everything. You're the trainer, you're everything, which makes it, I think, really difficult for new traders to understand. It's kind of frustrating. But I think as you get better at it, that's part of the excitement, right? I'm not beholden to anybody. No one's telling me what to do or how to do it. I like the solo aspect to it, although I do talk to my friends every now and again. But yeah, Moneyball, that's it. PBJ, if you look at that movie Moneyball, and if you haven't seen Moneyball, I would encourage you to watch it, even if you don't like baseball. If you don't like baseball, fine, watch Moneyball. And while you're watching Moneyball, I would just want you to think about trading. Because you got these superstar traders, right? You get these superstar players. And sometimes the superstar is great because it brings in the fans. He's flashy, it's exciting, he's got a personality, and people love him or hate him. But they don't make your team. It's everybody on that team that makes your team. And that's why Moneyball is so interesting, is they just started looking at the stats and looking at the statistics. And I think I've told you guys this before. When my trading really started to turn around in the early 2000s, is because I kept looking at the data. I was playing Moneyball on my performance, right? I was going, nope, don't trade this time of day because you usually lose money. Do this here and do this there and do this there. And I started to put the pieces in place for myself that was become much more consistent. And I think all of us have to do that. I can tell you from firsthand experience, having taught at Trading Academy for 28 years and worked with a lot of different traders and students, a lot of people just don't take the time and effort to look at your trades, right? They're like, oh, I didn't make money today. Okay, well, that's it. Well, no, look back at those trades and figure out what you did right, what you did wrong. And if you can put it into two categories, what you did right and what you did wrong, ultimately you have to focus more on the wrong. And you have three choices. You can continue to do everything the same way you've been doing it, which is insanity. You can work, study, and figure out how to fix whatever you did wrong there, or you can eliminate it. Eliminating it's the easiest choice. If you know that you're consistently doing something wrong, just get rid of it. But, I'm sure that many of you have started to do much more analysis since you've been following me, because I'm a stickler for it, right? I have an attitude towards it, which is like, you better review and look at your numbers. Because if you don't, you'll never figure out what you're doing right. You'll never figure out what you're doing wrong. And ultimately, you're going to end up blowing your account because you just couldn't figure it out. So look at your numbers, look at your style, your time of day, your contract size, what securities that you trade better, Somebody asked me the other day, what was it? It was about penny stocks. I actually recorded a video for Trading Academy on this. I'm like, I didn't answer it on this show. I answered in a different venue. But the question was, what are your thoughts on penny stocks? I'm like, who cares? I wouldn't touch penny stocks because a penny stock is so inconsistent. Let me go and see if I can bring some up here. I think this is it. So yeah, here, let's go SLMN. This right here. Here's penny stocks, right? Oops, let me get this out of here. Slide this over. I mean, come on. You're not going to make any money trading this chart. Look at that thing. It's like a bad EKG. RASP. Same thing. Just garbage. These are all penny stocks. Junk. Down 90% on the day. Down 80% of the day. There's no consistency here. But when you look at something like, it's an expensive security, Microsoft. But what's it doing? It's trending. It's respecting demand zones. It's got nice trends to it. Nvidia even. You've got the trend is your friend. And what's easier to make money on when something has a clear trend and you ride the trend and buy the dips on it, or trying to trade an EKG and pick tops and bottoms? I mean, I wouldn't trade penny stock for anything. It's just not worth it for me. I'd rather take losses on something that's highly predictable, not highly predictable, but at least has a higher probability of success, than roll the dice on a penny stock. It's just not for me. All right, what does White say? I've stopped doing calls on my Nvidia and let it run. Do you think Nvidia's legs have run out, or should I think about selling calls again? Bought in at 106. Tough question, Dwight. Tough question. We talked about this a little bit earlier before we started today. I do think that Nvidia is going to end up being positive on the open tomorrow. I know it's down 2% right now, but it's one of those things. Those numbers were pretty darn good, and I don't see it as such an atrocious earnings announcement that people are like, oh gosh, we got to run to the hills. Yeah, data center was slightly down, but everything else has been looking absolutely fantastic. So I do think Nvidia will probably continue to slowly go to the upside. You know what you can do? The premium is so good, Dwight, on Nvidia. Just sell it further out of the money, right? Just sell it far, far out of the money, and maybe make yourself 0.5% a week as opposed to trying to make 1% a week on the premium. I mean, Nvidia's premium is pretty darn decent because of its volatility, especially because the earnings right now. Let's go and look at, let me go here and go to options. I don't want to go to chain. And let's just say by next Friday, right, the 5th of August. Right now, let's put it side by side, close that. Right now, you've got Nvidia trading right at 177. So it's down a little bit, down at 177. Maybe I can go out here. These are all calls. Let me go see where my strike price. Why does my chain look all messed up? This is bizarre. It took my strike out. Hold on a sec. Chain, 75th, by expiration, by strike. Okay, there we go. I thought that looked really weird. It's there. Now the strike is back. Sorry about that. My strike disappeared, and now all of a sudden it's back. Okay, so if I wanted to go to, let's say, Nvidia, let's go NVDA, and maybe I'll go out here for next Friday, September 5th. if I want to make a 1%, maybe I sell the 195s. That's way above current price. And could it be taken away? Sure. If you really don't want it taken away, then yeah, don't sell calls. But you can continue to sell those strikes higher and higher and higher, so you're just adding a little bit of extra money to your pocket if you do believe it's going to run. I like selling calls against my position regardless of where it's at. And if I really want to hold it, maybe I won't for a week or so, but I usually sell calls that are at least 1% for the week is the goal, which is why I trade some of the more volatile stuff. Who will extend hours trading first? New York, NASDAQ, options market? I think NASDAQ. What else say? Steve says, I don't sell calls on my long-term account, Cornerstones, Amazon, Google, Nvidia, Microsoft, etc. I want to hold them for 10 years. I do have other accounts. Okay. And what I like about that, Steve, is you have strategically partitioned, right? You said, I'm doing this here and I'm doing this here. These accounts have specific rules, and that's what we're going to go with, okay? The SEC cleared the way for exchanges to move to blockchain. Great. It's going to happen sooner. I told you it's going to happen within the next couple of years, and here we go. Infinitely says, just wait for big green days and sell calls that are even further out, like 2 standard deviations. Yes, right? Or sell puts when you get the big drops, which is what I've been doing quite a bit. Haven't been that many big drops here recently, so unfortunately that's not working. Let's see, what else we got? I usually get calls on contract except for 100 shares. Okay, cool. All right, where was I? I was moving up the ladder here of the market performance. We started off with that 10-year, then we dropped to that dollar index, which was doing nothing. Then we got to the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ right now just kind of cycling sideways, at least for the past 3 trading sessions. We will see what Nvidia's impact is on this tomorrow. At present moment, it's only up 0.16% for the NQ. So I do expect there to be a big move tomorrow just based off of the digestion of all the information of Snowflake, CrowdStrike, and Nvidia. I think it's pretty big. Yep, definitely is basing. S&P, same picture, although it's basing right all-time highs. And you notice that technically today was an all-time intraday closing high. So we closed today on S&P futures at 6,505.5. That's an all-time intraday or all-time closing high. So ding, 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 ding. We've got a winner. Awards. Gold. 0.45, so less than 0.5% move to the upside here for gold. That is a hanging man formation, which according to Steve Nissen is a reversal pattern. I disagree with that. I think this is a continuation pattern, so we will see. I'm going to put a line right across the top of that candle there. 3,452.5 as a breakout point here for more upside movement for gold, and I think that would be pretty good for gold. Podium time. We're now at third place with the Russell, which has been doing what it has been doing, right? Big rally, calm, rally, pullback, and today we have a nice little breakout above the highs we established over the past 4 trading sessions. I will zoom out here so you guys can see that we are above this most recent area of supply or just issues, which is right around 2,333. Now it's a question of where are our next levels. I think it's probably right around 2,400 will be your next one, and then you're off to all-time highs. So finally, the Russell getting back into business, looking at all-time highs. Crude oil had a little bit of a bounce today. We looked at this one as a sell-off today based off of yesterday's candle. You know, I was expecting this to drop even more. It was a 1.42% move up today. And if we look at our economic calendar here, you can go look at the Wednesday crude oil inventories. Not as big of a drawdown. Oh, hold on. Not as big of a drawdown as the previous reading, but still a little bit worse than expectations. But it's somewhat decent for crude oil. You know, it's moving back up into positive territory, and I think that was part of the reason you saw crude oil have a little bit of an up move today. And finally, Bitcoin had a nice little jump up today. 112,880 on the futures market is where it is at right now. That is a gain of 1.48%. And at some of those, you know, if you look down here, if you look at the crypto side of things, there are a couple. I need to find out what the news is on Cronus. So I own a bunch of Cronus, which is great. We have watched a monumental move in the last 48 hours on Cron. This is the cryptocurrency for crypto.com. I'm not sure why it's gone absolutely gangbusters, but I'm happy with it because I've got a bunch of it, so there we go. But things like LivePeer, which I also own, is up about 15% today. So some of these guys really rocking to the upside. Now, Margaret is bringing up XLF, the financials. I'll zoom out here. And yeah, we've been at all-time highs for a little bit. I mean, it just keeps breaking those all-time highs. Let me get rid of this. These lines don't mean anything anymore. Yeah, and rightfully so. Financials are reaping the rewards of a great bull market. They've got great investments going on. They've got lower yields, and things just look very good for for XLF. And we could run through it a whole bunch of different things. So XLV Healthcare, obviously struggling. We've known that, and that's been talked about for quite some time. You have industrials, which was doing great. Now it just feels like it's consolidating. Utilities, still looking great. XL was E the strongest? I thought XLF was. Yeah, no, XLF is stronger overall than energy, but energy had a bigger day as far as the ETF goes. So it was up 1.1%. So yeah. And then you have technology, of course. So, a lot of these diverse ETFs look great, but nothing looks quite as good as those financials, which just kind of kept on going tomorrow. All right. Let's go and look at what's happening for tomorrow. I don't want to end an early show here. For Thursday, we have preliminary GDP. Now remember, this one is extremely important. Expectations are we're going to come out at 3.1%, but remember, previous quarter was a negative number. We don't want to have 2 consecutive quarters because that just fuels the fire of fear. Other announcements for tomorrow. You have unemployment claims, which I saw some of you mention in the chat. You have pending home sales and natural gas storage, and you also have Fed member Waller speaking. All right, so Waller, keep an eye on what Waller has to say. And then earnings front. We had quite a bit of earnings today. Of course, I had Nvidia on here. Let me show you some of the other names that reported today that were big. Snowflake beat. We had CrowdStrike beat. And yesterday was all about retailers. Tomorrow, for Thursday, it calms down quite a bit, but you still have Dell Technologies, Marvell Technology, Autodesk, Lee Motors, Dollar General, and Ulta Beauty, Dick's Sporting Goods, and more retailers for tomorrow. Okay, most game for the day, end of the week. Go to work for him, Big Ab, your job there. Who are you going to work for? Do you have to own the actual stock to sell calls or puts? No, you don't, Tim, but it's called naked. I'm not a fan of selling naked options. I only do cash secured. Only cash secured or covered calls. It's just not worth the risk to me. At any moment, you could get a bad piece of news or a good piece of news and it could gap way past you and you're on the hook. I personally will never do naked. Nope, no thanks. Not for me. What else we got here? Going to paint pottery tomorrow. My birthday. Happy birthday, Lori. Happy birthday. Hope you have a I hope you have a wonderful time painting pottery. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Congratulations. Another trip around the sun. All right, that's going to do it for me, everybody. A short show. 2:37. Don't know what to do with myself. I'm going to actually go take the pup down to the beach for a minute and go say hi to a friend of mine. We'll see what happens. Okay. Yes, I'm going to talk to my ex. Sorry. I got to leave her alone, but this is an important topic to discuss with her, so it'll be an interesting day for sure. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for me. If you have anything you want me to discuss on tomorrow's show, let me know. Email me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com. For those of you, hi, Hannah. Good to see you. Some new people in here. I am going to go and enjoy the rest of my day. I hope you guys do as well. Thursday's going to be a great one. I'm excited to see what happens for tomorrow's market. So take care, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow.